Lines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. Top-secret documents leaked by Edward Snowden have revealed new details about how the United States and Britain targeted the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks after it published leaked documents about the Afghan war. According to a new article co-written by Glenn Greenwald published this morning by The Intercept, Britain's top spy agency, the Government Communications Headquarters, or GCHQ, secretly monitored visitors to a WikiLeaks site by collecting their IP addresses in real time, as well as the search terms used to reach the site. One document from 2010 shows that the National Security Agency added WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange to a, quote, manhunting target list, together with suspected members of al-Qaeda.
Another document reveals the NSA considered designating WikiLeaks as a malicious foreign actor. According to The Intercept, such a designation would have allowed the group to be targeted with extensive electronic surveillance without the need to exclude U.S. persons from the surveillance searches. In addition, the leaked documents revealed the United States urged its foreign allies to file criminal charges against Assange over the group's publication of the Afghanistan war logs. Joining us now from London is WikiLeaks founder and editor Julian Assange, talking to us by the phone from the Ecuadorian embassy, where he has political asylum since August 2012. Here in New York, we're joined by Michael Ratner, the attorney for Julian Assange, President Emeritus of the Center for Constitutional Rights. When you read this, Julian, welcome back to Democracy Now!, what were your thoughts on being put on this manhunting, their words, manhunting list, together with al-Qaeda?
Good morning, Amy. Well, my first thought was, well, finally we have some proof that we can present to the public for what we've long suspected for a variety of reasons. It is strange to see your name in that context with people who are suspected of serious criminal acts of terrorism. Clearly, that is a massive overstep. We've heard a lot in the propaganda pushed on this issue by Clapper and others in the U.S. national security complex that, of course, this pervasive surveillance is justified by the need to stop terrorist attacks being conducted on the United States and its allies. But we've seen example after example come out over the last few months showing the National Security Agency and its partners, GCHQ, engage in economic espionage. And here we have an example where the type of espionage being engaged in is spying on a publisher, WikiLeaks, the publishing organization, and a publisher, me personally. And the other material that came out in relation to GCHQ was from 2012. And that shows that GCHQ was spying on our servers and our readers. So not just the publisher as an organization, not just the publisher as a person, but also the readers of a publisher. And that's clearly, I believe, not something that the United States population agrees with, let alone other people.
Were you surprised by anything that came out in these latest documents?
I was surprised about how someone is added to the foreign malicious actor list. So the National Security Agency went through a process to try and, at quite a high level, at the office of their legal director, to designate us as a foreign malicious actor, which means that our U.S. personnel can be spied on, or our U.S. supporters or associates. The, quote, human network that supports WikiLeaks in the United States can be targeted without going through any of the checks that the National Security Agency might normally engage in. And if you read the details of that writing, you can see that it's quite a lackadaisical, cavalier approach to going into that very serious step of deciding to spy on a publisher and all its U.S. personnel. And we must assume that news agencies like Reuters or the Deutsche Press agency that have foreign correspondents in the United States who are American citizens or American citizens working overseas could be similarly affected.
Julian Assange, the Intercept article quotes from the document you're referencing. It was from July 2011 and showed how two NSA officers consider designating WikiLeaks a, quote, malicious foreign actor. I want to read from the exchange between the NSA agency's general counsel and an arm of its Threat Operations Center. Quote, can we treat a foreign server who stores or potentially disseminates leaked or stolen U.S. data on its server as a malicious foreign actor for the purposes of targeting with no defeats? Examples, WikiLeaks, the piratebay.org, etc. The response was, quote, let us get back to you. Julian Assange, your response and what the documents reveal about the process that the NSA or GCHQ go through to designate someone a malicious foreign actor.
What they mean here is by no defeats, it's sort of no protections for any form of interception of content of U.S. citizens communicating with that organization or through that foreign server. And the particular document that this came out in was actually not a document that was formally looking at this issue in relation to us. Rather, it was a extraction from that consideration that happened sometime in the past, and then was put into one of their, if you like, a sort of frequently asked questions internally in the National Security Agency. So we're quite lucky to have found this reference. We were used as an example of how could you, in fact, target these servers even when they were used by people in the United States. And the answer is yes, that can be done. And we don't know what the answer was in our particular case, but given that the general example is yes, then we must assume that it was. And I think really now General Alexander needs to come clean and say, in fact, was that permitted in the case of WikiLeaks, and did the National Security Agency proceed in spying on our U.S. personnel or our lawyers, for example, like Michael Radner, who's based in New York.
Julian, we have Michael here, but I did want to ask, you've been in the embassy, haven't had natural daylight sunlight for 608 days. How are you, and does the information that has come out of this change in any way what your thoughts are about your future?
Well, I just find it helpful that in preparing this asylum application, of course, we looked into many details like this that were quite technical, a big puzzle of many pieces, which some organization like a Foreign Office or the Ecuadorian Department of Foreign Affairs has the time to assess, but of course it's harder for the public to understand it. But documents like this show very readily the sort of the scale of the U.S. response to our publications and why it's unfortunately been necessary for me to apply and receive asylum, and for some of our other personnel like Sarah Harrison, who's a British citizen, to be in legally advised exile in Germany.
And will the information about whether there is a sealed indictment, which this seems to indicate there isn't, do you have any further information about that, an indictment against you in the United States?
The District Attorney of Virginia gave the last information on that issue and formally stated publicly that the investigation continues.
Well, Julian Assange, I want to thank you for being with us, founder and editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks. Will this change anything you do inside the embassy when you see how further information about you're being monitored and people even going to the website? What is it? GCHQ, the equivalent of the NSA in Britain, collecting the IP addresses in real time of people who even access the WikiLeaks site.
The WikiLeaks security model has always been predicated under the basis that we are dealing with very powerful organizations that do not obey the rule of law, whether those are powerful criminal organizations, whether those are corrupt governments in Africa or whether they're spy agencies allied with the West or Russia or China. And so it doesn't, we've always been prepared to defend against that sort of scrutiny. The UK government has publicly admitted that they've spent £6 million in the last year surveilling the embassy through police forces alone. We see from these documents that we must assume that GCHQ is also monitoring the situation. That's part of, I suppose, part of the sad state of the rule of law in the West, where these organizations behave that way. I think the days are clearly numbered that they can get away with it without being exposed. But I'll leave you to Michael Ratner now.
Thanks so much, Julian. Julian Assange, founder and editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks. When we come back, we are joined by Michael Ratner, legal advisor to Julian Assange. We'll also be joined from London, not in exile in the Ecuadorian embassy, but in a studio in London, by Jesslyn Radak, the legal advisor to Edward Snowden, who was stopped at Heathrow Airport on Sunday, asked, who is Edward Snowden? Where is Bradley Manning? And other such questions. Stay with us.